How does 36:43 end?
It doesn't end with the death of Esau.
Yes, this one doesn't. It just goes on, and
What
Eve
is
is
that number? By to the left of Esau's life, 28, 1 through 8, or
36, 1 through 8.
36?
actually. Oh, I see. This is what I mean. Okay, now remember, chapter divisions aren't inspired. Let's redo this. The last verse of this toledot is actually chapter 37, verse 1. What does it say? That's what I'm looking at.
No, I got you.
And Jacob lived in the land where his father had sojourned in the land of Canaan.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it switches to Jacob, and then what does verse 2 say?
This is the toledot of Jacob.
Yeah, you see what I'm getting at here?
Mm-hmm.
Goes through all of this, skips over Esau's not the guy, and then it picks up right here with in 37:2. Yeah, that's where you can tell whoever did the chapter divisions is not thinking structure, because they start it with the toledot in verse 2. I would say verse 2 ought to be verse 1 of chapter 37 if you're going to do it, because it goes all the way through Esau's stuff. It removes what we have here. The author, he removes Ishmael from the stage. Right here, he lines up Esau's descendants, and then he removes them from the stage. And who does it focus in on? Focuses in on Jacob. So this guy, is he the one that's chosen? All right.
So far.
Before he was born, who did God choose?
Him.
Him. Is this talking about salvation? Oh, if it is, then that means all the Ishmaelites went to hell. Let's go further than that. Jacob has 12 sons. Which one of them gets chosen?
Judah.
Well, let's not spoil the fun. We'll go ahead and I'll keep trying to build the suspense for y'all. How about that? Alright, he's got 12 sons. Now watch this. So the story of Jacob begins. This is what's great. You have Jacob. This is the last toledot. That's it. So it ends right here, and with his 12 sons. And so right here, from this point forward, there's no more toledot. And what's the rest of, from this point forward, what's it about? It's about Jacob's 12 sons, the Israelites. All of Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. It's about these guys. You see how the author structured that? It's clear. This whole text, the structure, is moving toward this seed. The whole thing is moving us toward Christ. I'm arguing all of this is about Jesus. It's following the genealogy. He's carefully tracking, moving forward all the way through. So much so that let's figure out. Okay, is Reuben going to be the guy? Right? Is he going to be the seed? Well, let's see what happens. Look at chapter 35, verse 22, and tell me what it says.
Came about while Israel was dwelling in that land that Reuben went and lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine, and Israel heard.
Why does the author tell us that?
Trying to kick in off on it, trying to like that.
All right, with that being said, look at Genesis 49, someone read verses 3 and 4. Verses 3 and 4.
Reuben, you are my firstborn, my might, and the beginning of my strength, preeminent in dignity and preeminent in power, uncontrolled as water. You shall not have preeminence, because you went up to your father's bed, and you defiled it. You went up to my couch,
What did you just say?
because you did what we just read.
Yeah, when did he defile his father's bed? Genesis
5 or 6.
Yeah, 30, was it 34, 35, 22? Yeah, go ahead.
Just on that note, what translation are you reading?
NESB.
That's what I'm reading. And just curiosity, tying it back into last week, they translated Reuben, you are my firstborn, my might in the beginning. Is the Hebrew word for those two terms that's translated in our Bible the same one that's used in Genesis 21?
Boker is the word firstborn, but the word preeminent is reshit.
So that's the same word.
Yeah,
we
Rashid
use.
is tucked in here, saying, he says, you're my firstborn, you're my Rashid of my strength. The prominence, the best, it's right here. So yeah, it's a good observation, it is there. As you can imagine, those words are always tied together. Yeah, so Genesis 35 verse 22, the author tells us, hey, he sleeps with his father's wife. Okay, well, right here, Genesis 49, the author pulls that back up and tells us what? You're not going to be the guy because you defiled your father's bed. All right, what happens in Genesis 34? Someone just look at the title and tell me what happens in Genesis 34.
Oh, yeah, the Simeon and Levi. episode.
What happens in Shechem? Moy, what happens with Shechem in chapter 34? Simeon and Levi in the town of Shechem. Yeah, the dinosaur, right? It's amazing because if you go back, this is so intentionally woven. When I'll tell you what, let's just spoil the fun. You guys remember where Jacob, he starts him and his wives start having children, right? With that being said, look at chapter 29. Let's see if I can find this real quick. I didn't prepare this, but I'll go ahead and show you just because it's amazing to me. Actually, I think it's chapter 30. Look for
What are you trying to find?
where Dinah's in here.
It's 30.
In chapter, it may be chapter 30.
It's 34, isn't it? Now Dinah, the daughter of.
No. That is
You mean when
where the
she's
story
born?
when she's born exactly.
Oh.
21 of chapter 30, afterwards. she
Okay,
goes off.
there we go. So chapter 30 is about all these sons being born, right? Talking Reuben, Simeon, Levi, all these sons are being born. Why does the author include Dinah right here? Does it include all the other daughters they have? No, doesn't mention any of them. Why does he mention Dinah here in chapter 30, verse 21?
Because he's about to talk about her.
Yeah, you see how the author keeps preparing the stage for where he's going next? Remember in chapter 10 where it said this was before the world was spread out? Then chapter 11 starts with the story about where the world spread out. Right here, the author tells us about Dinah. Well, chapter 34 is about Dinah. Do you see it? You see composition? You guys see what I'm saying? The author's intentionally composed this text.
There's a flow.
There's a flow. There's a movement. And the author's preparing us for what happens. Even, I would argue, even the beginning of Genesis 2:4 where it starts talking about the world, it says before it had rained. It's preparing us for the flood, which is going to come later. The author keeps preparing us for what he's doing. He's very carefully weaving this text. So here Dinah's born. I'm sure there were plenty of other daughters, but it doesn't matter. This one matters. Why? Let's go back to chapter 34, right? Simeon and Levi. Their sister Dinah gets taken by the Shechemites. They don't like it. What do Simeon and Levi do?
Kill them all.
They go murder them all. All right? With that being said, let's look back at Genesis 49. Someone read Genesis 49, verses 5 through 7. Genesis 49, 5 through 7.
Simeon and Levi are brothers. Their swords are implements of violence. Let my soul not enter into their council. Let not my glory be united with their assembly. Because in their anger they slew men, and in their self-will they lamed oxen. Cursed be their anger, for it is fierce, and the wrath, for it is cruel. I will disperse them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel.
All right, so what's he referring to? When was their anger fierce and violent and all that stuff?
When they killed.
Yeah, Genesis 34. You guys see that? The text is building meaning within itself. Are you going to understand Genesis 49, verses 5 through 7, if you don't know Genesis 34? You're not going to get it. You guys, that's the main thing. That's what I'm trying to point out here. The text builds on itself. We've got to stay in the text, let the author create the meaning and build on itself. Right here, yeah, they went here, they did that, so what happens to them?
They get knocked out.
All right? You guys see that? So who's next in line? Okay, and this is a big deal. Turn to Genesis 38. Let's pay attention. Let's see, why is this a big deal? Now watch this. Okay, I'm going to show you structure again. Look at Genesis 37, verse 36. Someone read that for me.
Now the Midianites had sold Joseph
Joseph,
rather,
right.
into Egypt to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh and the captain of the guard.
All right, now watch this. So what happens to Joseph in 37, what verse is that?
36.
36. So Joseph is sold, right? All right, now read chapter 39, verse 1. Tell me what happened.
Now Joseph had been taken down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, bought him from the Ishmaelites who had taken him down there.
So what just happened?
The same thing, just each retold.
Yeah, this is what we call an inclusio.
Say that again?
Inclusio. What it is basically a sandwich. You have the same thing on both sides with something in the middle. It just told us he was sold to Egypt right here. The author goes through and tells us again who Joseph sold. So something's in the middle. What do you guys think's in the middle? Yeah, something important, right?
Just like the story of the bad elf.
Yeah, the meat, exactly. Judah and Tamar. You guys see how the author structures this? This is, again, composition. This is what I'm trying to point out here. There's intentional structure. All right? Now, why do you think this story, after what we've seen with Simeon and Levi 34, Reuben in 35, why do you think this story of Judah is important?
Something to do with the seed, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, absolutely. It's going to have something to do with the seed. All right? Now, let's look at it. We have the story in chapter 38. It starts off, verse 1, and it came about at that time, Judah departed from his brothers and visited a certain Adamite, whose name was Hera. Judah saw that the daughter of a certain Canaanite, whose name was Shua, and he took her, and he went into her, and he conceived and bore a son, and he named him Then she conceived, that's so funny. Anyway, then she conceived again and bore a son, and named him Onan. And she bore another son and named him Shelah, and it was at Cheziv that she bore him. Now Judah took a wife for his firstborn, and her name was Tamar. But Judah's firstborn, was evil in the sight of the Lord, so the Lord took his life. That's amazing. Then Judah said to Onan, "Go into your brother's wife and perform your duty as brother-in-law and raise up offspring." Onan knew that the offspring would not be his, so he went into his brother's wife, and he wasted his seed on the ground in order not to give it offspring. It's amazing how important a seed is it not? Onan knew that the offspring would not be his, so when he... pardon me, I just read that, I think. Verse 10, but what he did was displeasing in the sight of the Lord, and so the Lord took his life. Then Judah said to his daughter-in-law Tamar, "Remain a widow in your father's house until my son Shelah grows up." For he thought, "I'm afraid that he too may die like his brother." So Tamar went to live in her father's house. And after a considerable time, Shua's daughter, the wife of Judah, died. And the time of mourning ended. Judah went up to the sheep shears at Timnah, he and his friend Hera the Adamite. And it was told Tamar, "Behold, your father-in-law is going up." Now here's the deal. Years later, Judah was supposed to give his third son, Shelah, to Tamar. Does he do it?
No.
He doesn't. So this guy's starting out to be a loser, right? There's a lot that's going on in Hebrew. The way author creates meaning is he connects. He uses structure and he connects things. In the story of Joseph, obviously, he gets sold to Egypt. Someone read in chapter 37, verses 32 and 33. Now watch this. Someone read chapter 37, verse 32, 33.
Then they sent the tunic of many colors, and they brought it to their father and said, "We have found this. Do you know whether it is your son's tunic or not?" And he recognized it and said, "It is my son's tunic."
Okay, so right here we have it says they took him the tunic, and this is what's huge. In Hebrew, it uses the same word twice. It says, look at this, nakar this tunic. recognize, is this your son? And then Judah, it says, and he nakared the tunic and saw that it was his son. So he recognized this, please, and he looks at it, nakar. Then Jacob, nakar, he recognizes that it's his son's tunic. That's huge. Okay, now watch this. Judah Tamar story. Judah doesn't give his son to Tamar. Tamar goes, dresses as a prostitute. Judah sleeps with her. She gets pregnant. She says, give me 2 of your items. Give me your staff and your
seal.
and pay me later. Well, she runs off. Well, Judah finds out she's pregnant. And he says, take the woman out and kill her. Why? Because he doesn't want anything to do with her, right? And guess what she says when she sees him?
Do you recognize this?
Recognize, nakar, this. And Judah, nakar, he recognized it. You see what just happened? The author just linked this with the Jacob story. Whereas they pulled one over on their father, here you have one being pulled over, it's being turned on him. You reap what you sow, right? God is spanking him, if you will. The author's intentionally connecting these. For his evil back there, he's being chastened. And now, this is what's so important, though. Watch his response. Okay, look at verse 25 of chapter 38. It was while she was being brought out that she sent her father into her father-in-law, saying, I am with child by the man to whom these belong. And she said, Nakar, see whose signet ring and staff these are. And Judah nakared them. He recognized them, and he said, someone read verse 26.
Judah recognized them and said, she is more righteous than I, inasmuch as I did not give her to my son Shelah.
What's his response? She is more righteous than I. That is the first redeeming quality we see of any of the sons of Jacob. These guys, this guy sleeps with his father's wife and is chopped out. These two murder a bunch of people, they're chopped out. Here the author inserts the story of Judah, where he's chastened for his wickedness, and he's the first one that says, she's right. He's humbled, and he repents. That's the first time we see that. And in the Joseph story, which continues, at the very end of the Joseph story, when Joseph says, I mean, this is such a big deal, he says, I'm going to take Benjamin. And remember, in the story, they say, Jacob tells him, look, if the Egyptian guy takes Benjamin, I'm going to die. My soul's going to go down to Sheol. Well, Reuben says, well, I'll tell you what, if they try to take him, I'll give both my sons as sacrifice. Okay, the guy's, he's concerned about himself. Judah is here at the end. Joseph's about to take Benjamin, and what does Judah do?
No, take me instead.
Take me instead. Let me die in his place. You see the difference here? This guy ends up being the winner. All right, turn back to Genesis 49. Let's see what happens. Genesis 49, verse, just someone just read 8 through 10. I mean, y'all are familiar with it.
Judah, your brothers shall praise you. Your hand shall be on the neck of your enemies. Your father's sons shall bow down to you. Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, you have gone up. He couches, he lies down as a lion, and as a lion, who dares rouse him up? The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until Shiloh comes, and to him the obedience of the peoples. He ties his foal to the vine, and his donkey's colt to the choice vine. He washes his garments in wine, and his robes in the blood of grapes. His eyes are dull from wine, and his teeth white from milk.
You guys see how this built up all the way to the first scene? You guys see that?
Yeah.
I mean, this entire thing built to right here. And Judah's the one. Isn't that ridiculous? That's what I'm saying. When you come to the text, if this doesn't make you think, wow, not only does God love us, but he has structured this thing to where if you're not preaching Jesus and going to him, you're missing the whole boat. I mean, this whole thing, it builds up strategically, goes through the whole thing, gets all the way to here and prophesies about the first point, the Messiah coming. Okay, I mean, this is that's amazing to me. All right, now let's not stop there. Let's go ahead and have some fun. With that being said, why is this important? Okay, turn to Matthew chapter 1. this also deals, Second Chronicles is also important to Matthew chapter 1.
Is Matthew in the New Testament?
Matthew chapter 1. Second Chronicles is what ends the Old Testament, despite our English order. And the whole book of Chronicles tracks one tribe. If you guys read Second Chronicles, it tracks one tribe, the whole book. What tribe is that? Judah. All right. Okay, now with that being said, you see how the toledot aims us toward it? Second Chronicles tracks it with Matthew chapter 1. Someone read, just read verses 1 through 3 or something like that.
The record of the genealogy of Jesus, the Messiah, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Abraham was the father of Isaac, and Isaac the father of Jacob, and Jacob the father of Judah and his brothers. Judah was the father of Perez.
You stop there. You guys get what's happening here?
Yeah, stop at Judah and went down.
Yeah, I mean, what is Matthew looking at?
Judah.
Yeah, he's looking at the text, is he not?
Yeah.
Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Judah. I mean, he's looking right at the text. He's showing us Jesus. He's the guy. And that's what I'm trying. When Matthew starts out with this, again, compositional theology. I'm not a New Testament scholar, but compositional theology, clearly, he's structuring the book of Matthew to show us that Jesus is this guy. Okay? You guys catch that? With that being said, look at Luke chapter 3 or 4. I'm not sure. We'll find out when we get there.
3.
Chapter 3. David knows what I'm doing. All right. That being said, look at Luke chapter 3. I'll read this. Verse 23. Look at Luke chapter 3, verse 23. When he began his ministry, Jesus himself was about 30 years of age, being supposed the son of Joseph, the son of Eli, the son of Matthias, the son of Levi, blah, 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 blah. All the way down to look at verse 34. The son of Jacob, the son of Isaac, the son of Abraham, the son of Terah, the son of Nahor, the son of Serug, the son of Reu, the son of Peleg, the son of Heber. Where did all these names come from?
Genesis 10.
Okay. The son of Methuselah, the son of Egypt, the son of Jared, the son of Mahalalel, the son of Canaan, the son of Enosh, the son of Seth, the son of God. Right?
The son of Adam.
Pardon me, the son of Adam, the son of God. The son of Enosh, the son of Seth, the son of Adam, the son of God. What does Luke
Well,
look
what
at?
stands out to me right there, and I've never noticed it before. He's talking about Jesus and his genealogy, right?
Yeah.
And the very last thing he says in verse 38, the Son of God. And he's walked us backwards through the whole toledot.
Yeah, that
So
is something
now-
to think about,
Now
actually.
if what you're saying's correct about in the beginning referring to the prominent one,
It would be very possible.
that would go right back to
Yeah.
that.
I hadn't thought
Yeah,
about
it
that.
would.
And yeah. And why this is so important here in Luke chapter 3, Luke is
They didn't teach us how to preach that kind of stuff in seminary.
in Luke chapter in Luke chapter 3, okay, it's trying to present Jesus as okay, let's see if I can say this right. As soon as this ends, he goes, oh my gosh, no one freak out, this makes me freak out. What's chapter 4 verse 1 about?
Jesus.
But read it. That's good. I mean, he's right.
His temptation for
His
40
temptation.
days.
Okay, now check this out. Jesus has just been put as the son of Adam, right? And he goes in the wilderness and faces 3 temptations, which reflect what 3 temptations in the Garden of Eden? Right? The flesh, the sight, pride of life. All 3 of the temptations in the garden, Jesus faces all 3 of them. He's put as the son of Adam, and the author is trying to compositionally show us this is the new Adam. You guys get that? This is the new Adam. That's what he's showing us here. Okay? And now does he come out and does he say, hey guys, this is the new Adam? No. This is, again, compositional theology. The way he writes the text as a careful reader, if you pay attention to it, you'll see what the author's doing. All right, if you're a cynic and a skeptic, are you going to get that out of the text? No. God's designed the text. I'm going to argue where if you're a skeptic and a cynic, you'll have all that you want to go and send yourself to hell. I mean, he makes it to where, if you're a careful reader that loves God, you'll pick up on the meaning. You know, but if you don't want to see it, you're not going to. Okay. Again, so you guys see that. With that being said, look at Romans chapter 9. Okay, chapter 9. Chapter 8, verse 39 is about, nothing can separate us from the love of God. Right? Y'all familiar with that? Nothing can separate us from God. So Paul just makes that statement. I can't really unpack this the way I want to until week 5 and 6 of the class. This is heavily impacted by something we're going to talk about in a couple weeks. Anyway, we'll just read verse 9, chapter 9. I'm telling you the truth in Christ. I'm not lying. My conscience testifies within me and the Holy Spirit that I have great sorrow and ceasing grief, for I wish that I could be accursed from Christ for my kinsmen, verse 4, who are Israelites, who belong to the adoptions, the glory of the covenants, the promises, who are the fathers, to whom is Christ according to the flesh. Where is he getting that? I mean, he's tracking the seed, right? But it is not as though the word of God is failed, for they are not all Israel who are from Israel. He's saying, okay, God made this promise to Israel, which we'll talk about this later, that gets broken, we're severed because Israel is a bunch of losers. He's saying now it's not that God's word hasn't failed, has it? Why? Well, not everyone from Israel is Israel. And then he starts saying this, nor are they all children, because they are Abraham's seed. But through Isaac your seed will be named. And he starts breaking it down. Just because they're Abraham's seed, does that mean they're a part of the group that God's going to do, that God's choosing to do this work from? No. Ishmael is not it. He says, God chose Isaac. All right, then it goes down. Esau and Jacob. All right, which of these two does he choose? He says before they were even born, God chose which one? Jacob. Now, does it mean Esau's going to hell?
Not
Does
necessarily.
it mean Ishmael's going to hell? Okay, if we go a step further, which one of these sons gets chosen? Judah. Does it mean these guys are going to hell?
Not
No,
necessarily.
Paul's not tracking salvation here. Go read any of our, Reformed commentaries, and they're going to tell you this is salvation being tracked. Paul's not tracking salvation. His argument is, why has the word of God not failed? Well, let's see. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, he starts going through the line, okay, and he starts moving through the story of the Old Testament. It's not tracking salvation, it's tracking this covenant. I mean, he's getting this straight from the text. You guys see what I'm saying? The designs, if you understand the text, you're going to see what he's talking about. If you don't, you're going to just import your theology in here in order to interpret this. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Curtis, do you see what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. When you go back through and you read this, that's where Paul's pulling from. And we don't have. I'd like to unpack it more, but we can't do it. Okay, let me give you one last small nugget, and then we'll get out of here. According to me, what characters in this? You see how the author tracks the genealogy very carefully. Okay, Christ, the firstborn. I'm going to argue, does he have a genealogy? Let me try this again. Before creation, this guy does it begin him with a genealogy?
No.
Beginning in no. Okay, what other character outside of God has no genealogy in the text? Melchizedek. All right, turn to Hebrews chapter 7.
Oh, Hebrews.
Hebrews chapter 7.
I was turning back to Genesis.
Okay, Hebrews chapter 7, verse 1 forward. This is Melchizedek, king of Salem, priest of the Most High God, who met Abraham when he was returning from the slaughter of the kings and blessed him. To Abraham also, Abraham apportioned the tenth of the spoils for all. By translation, his name is King of Righteousness, King of Peace. Verse 3, without father, without mother, without genealogy, having no beginning of days or end of life. What's he looking at?
Genesis.
Yeah. What character has no genealogy, no beginning, no end, no death? That he's not even mentioned he's not even a part of the line of the seed, right? The author's looking at the Torah when he's making his argument. I mean, look what he says in verse 6. But the one whose genealogy is not traced from them collected a tenth from Abraham. Right? He's looking at, you guys see where he's getting this information? He doesn't even have a genealogy. And he's collecting tithe from Abraham. And I'm going to argue, the author's argument in chapter 7 is this. Melchizedek was a king and a priest. who collected tithes from Abraham. Okay, so he was better than the Levites. And I'm going to argue the chapter ends with, Jesus was better than Melchizedek. He says he's like a king, a priest, and God. Okay, the Levites don't even compare to Melchizedek, much less a step further, Jesus, who beats all of them out. But he's looking at the text to build his argument. Go ahead.
So it's not that Melchizedek doesn't really have a father and a mother, it's just
In the text,
in the text,
it
he
doesn't.
doesn't have a genealogy.
Right. He's a secondary character. He's not even pivotal. You see the difference, how the author's coming to this? Okay.
That was very helpful to me, what you just said, you know, because I started to think, said, hey, if he doesn't have a genealogy, then it leaves me with, you know, the question, where did he come from?
Yeah. The author's looking at the text and saying, look, there's no genealogy in here. It's not saying that this guy's God or he's eternal. I don't think. It's just saying he's not recorded in here. All right, he's not even a main character. Okay. We got to get rolling, but there's so much more. Yeah, we'll pick it up next week.